Hi! Here we are in May, and I am doing Mixed Up Fairy Tales. The one today is called Little Red and the Missing Granny. It's Granny's birthday, but where has she gone? Little Red must be brave and search the dark woods to find Granny, and quickly, or she'll never get any birthday cake. So let's find out what happened. Happy birthday, Granny! Yelled Little Red, stomping loudly into the peaceful little cottage. It was Granny's birthday today, and Little Red was excited to give her the present she had made. But Granny didn't answer. Where was Granny? Red searched around all the usual places that Granny might be hiding. She wasn't sleeping in her bed, or baking in the kitchen, or using the bathroom, or digging in the garden, or rummaging in the attic. Granny wasn't anywhere to be found. Little Red wondered, where could Granny be? Then Red noticed there was a delicious looking birthday cake in the kitchen. Yum. Maybe Granny went out to pick some berries. Perhaps the big bad wolf came along while Granny was out in the woods. Oh no, oh no. Little Red was worried. She grabbed the big wooden axe from behind the fireplace and her favorite hood and basket. I'll save you, Granny, Little Red heroically said, and raced into the shadowy autumn woods. Little Red searched high and low for any sign of Granny as she dashed down the overgrown forest trail. There were no footprints to show which way she might have gone. No Grannies here. Where are you, Granny? Red shouted so loud her voice echoed through the trees. But what was that shadow in the distance? Was it Granny reaching for berries? It wasn't Granny. It was just a giant cloudberry bush. So Red stopped to pick some of the juicy berries for Granny's birthday tea and put them in her basket. Granny wasn't by the big fruit trees or in the berry bushes. Little Red stepped over a happy brown snail out for a morning squirm and continued her search. With twigs crunching and snapping under her feet, Little Red saw a big woodpile. Maybe Granny was here. She peeked around the side and saw a beetle climbing up a log, fluttering its wings at her. Still no sign of Granny. Red collected some wood for the fire and put it in her basket. But what was that shadow on the path? Was it Granny picking mushrooms? It wasn't Granny, just a tree stump and a muddy hill. A friendly mole popped up out of the ground nearby. Have you seen Granny today? Little Red asked him, and with a cloud of dirt, he disappeared back down into his hole. Granny probably couldn't fit down in there anyway. But what was that shadow in the river? Was it Granny going for a swim? It wasn't Granny, just a big rock in the water. Suddenly there was a flash of light and a loud rumble as the thunderstorm broke out over the forest. The lightning crackled and made strange shadows appear in the woods. Little Red tried to be brave and scrambled over huge tree roots that were slippery and slimy in the rain. Little Red headed to the old woodcutter's cottage. Maybe Granny would be here hiding from the rain. Inside, the roof was drippy and the cabin was empty. A croaky green frog was sitting by the door and hopped away as she came close. But what was that shadow under the tree? Was it Granny taking a nap? It wasn't Granny, just an enormous spotted toadstool. At last the rain stopped, leaving plenty of muddy puddles to splash around in. Red picked some pretty flowers for Granny's birthday and put them in her basket. But what was that rustling in the bushes? Was it Granny picking flowers too? Little Red went to investigate and peered into the bushes. A green bird flew out of the rustling leaves, squawking grumbly at her. That wasn't Granny. The bird gave Little Red quite a fright, and she ran away as fast as she could. But Red wasn't looking where she was going, and felt the ground disappear from under her. Ah! Little Red screamed. She slipped and fell all the way down a deep, dark hole. It was cold and muddy, and way too slippery to climb back up. Granny, are you down here? Little Red shouted, but all she could see were tree roots and a couple of spider webs. There was an oozy, muddy tunnel at the bottom and sunlight up ahead. That must be the way out. Little Red's hands and knees were slimy with mud. Some wriggly worms and a slippery snail kept her company as she crawled down the tunnel. What's all that noise? Little Red asked herself. It couldn't be Granny. She doesn't sound like that. Blop, 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 blop. Hum, 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 hum. She finally emerged into a wide, sunny clearing with strong metal cages scattered about. Granny, are you here? Red called out. The cages were filled with deer, squirrels, owls, badgers, bears, wolves, mice, and hedgehogs. They were creatures of all sizes, and they all looked very frightened, but too fluffy to be Granny. Little Red loved animals, and seeing them in cages made her very angry. "Aye!" she yelled as she swung the wood axe over and over, smashing the locks on all the animals' cages. Now all the animals were free, but where was Granny? Beyond the broken cages, Little Red saw why it was so sunny. "Where has the forest gone?" Red whimpered. "Oh no! Look at that! Oh no!" Big, scary, smelly machines were cutting down the trees and munching them up with sharp metal chompers. They looked like huge yellow monsters digging up and flattening the land. Little Red was furious now. She leapt and swung her axe at the wheels of the machines. Hi-ya! At the same time, a mysterious woodland ninja swung silently from the trees and attacked the machines from above, taking the drivers completely by surprise. The shadowy ninja captured all the machine drivers in a flash and trapped them in the animal cages. With a quick wave, the ninja disappeared into the forest as silently as they had appeared. Red was baffled. Who could that curious character be? It was getting late, though, so Little Red rushed back home since she couldn't find Granny in the woods. As soon as she entered the house, Little Red saw Granny and grinned. "Happy birthday, Granny!" "Thank you, my dear," chuckled Granny, who was knitting woolly socks in her armchair. "Where were you, Granny? I've been looking all over for you." "Oh, I was just out and about, dear. Would you like some cake?" Granny smiled. Little Red nodded happily and shared all her treats and sweets that she'd gathered in her basket. It was a wonderful birthday for Granny. They ate cake and she listened to Little Red as she spoke of the journey through the woods and how she saved the animals from the big bad machines with the help of a secret woodland ninja. The end. I'm so glad that you joined me for this story called Little Red and the Missing Granny, yet another mixed up fairy tale.